Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. James Whitmore, the charismatic and demanding CEO of a New York multinational, is used to being in control of every aspect of his life. Nothing and no one can disturb his perfectly ordered world, until the day he meets Clara Bennett, a sweet but spirited new temporary assistant. Her smile, her insight, and her radiant presence affect James more than he cares to admit. Clara, however, knows exactly who James is. She is, in fact, his contract wife, married to him as part of a discreet family agreement designed to protect a major heiress to the company. But her role requires her to keep her identity secret, working under a false name and behaving like a regular employee. Every encounter at the office becomes a dangerous game. James gradually falls under Clara's spell, unaware of their legal relationship. Clara, for her part, must navigate between her burgeoning feelings and the duty to never reveal the truth. James's heart begins to waver, and the line between lies and passion becomes increasingly blurred. In this world of luxury, secrets, and power, can love truly survive when the truth threatens to destroy everything? James Whitmore entered the vast executive office, his brisk footsteps echoing on the gleaming parquet floor. Every morning, he observed the hierarchy, the rigor, the discipline, until today. Today, something had changed. Clara Bennett sat behind a makeshift desk, surrounded by neatly stacked files and notebooks. She occasionally glanced up to smile at passing employees, but there was something more to her eyes, a glint of confidence and mystery that immediately attracted James. Who is she? He thought, unable to look away. He approached, feigning routine. Hello, I'm James Whitmore. Are you new here? Clara looked up and gave him a warm but professional smile. Yes, Mr. Whitmore. I am in charge of coordinating the files for the Aurora project. James felt a strange fascination. He noted the precision of her voice, the way she placed her hands on the keyboard, the gentleness of her smile, and a shiver ran down his spine. Very well, then I'm counting on you to help me keep track of the project's progress. Your position is temporary, I believe? Exactly, sir. But I will make sure that every detail is perfect. James nodded, intrigued. He stepped back, but his mind remained fixed on Clara. Every time he tried to concentrate on his files, her name came up in his thoughts. This unassuming employee seemed to have a disconcerting effect on him. Meanwhile, Clara watched James intently. She knew every gesture, every tick, every nuance of the man before her. But he didn't know that she was his contract wife, the one he had officially married according to a secret family agreement. She had to keep her identity hidden, but her heart skipped a beat every time he came near her. The day passed with meetings, presentations, and professional exchanges, but for James, each moment was a struggle between fascination and confusion. He began to wonder how a mere employee could disrupt his perfectly ordered world. That evening, as he left the office, he cast one last glance at Clara. She raised her hand in greeting, and her smile seemed to hold a secret he was still unaware of. Deep down, James knew his life had just changed. In the following days, James found himself looking for Clara in the office. Every time he passed by her workspace, he found an excuse to start a conversation, a question about a file, a detail about the project, or even a simple, "Hello, how are you?" Clara, true to form, responded politely and professionally, but she couldn't hide a slight amusement at James's obvious fascination. Every smile she gave him, every subtly teasing remark, strengthened the invisible bond between them. One afternoon, when the office was almost empty, James called him to review a report. Clara, could you explain this passage to me? I want to make sure everything is perfectly clear. She approached, placing the file on her desk and sitting just close enough that their shoulders brushed. James felt a shiver run down his spine, a mixture of excitement and confusion. Of course, Mr. Whitmore. As you can see here. Clara's soft voice and her closeness made it impossible for James to concentrate on the report. He longed to get closer, to bridge the distance that tormented him. But he held back, mindful of his position as CEO and the image he had to maintain. Meanwhile, Clara struggled with her own feelings. Every gesture, every glance from James made her heart beat faster. But she had to remain distant, professional, and above all, keep the secret of their arranged marriage. She couldn't reveal the truth, not yet. That evening, James stayed in his office longer than usual. He kept thinking about Clara, her eyes, her smile, and that strange feeling he couldn't explain. He realized he no longer saw her as just a temporary employee, but as someone important, someone he wanted to know, really know. As she left the office, Clara cast one last glance at him, a look filled with silent promises. James felt his heart clench and knew, without understanding how, that something unexpected had just begun between them. The game had just begun, a delicate dance between attraction and secrecy, where every gesture could bring them closer, or destroy everything. A few weeks had passed since Clara's arrival. James Whitmore realized that he thought about her more than anyone else. Even at the height of his empire, no employee had ever troubled him so much. That morning, an unexpected problem arose in the Aurora project. A key file had been incorrectly saved, threatening to delay the entire presentation to investors. James rushed to Clara, certain she could rectify the situation. "Clara, I need you to fix this immediately. The investors are arriving tomorrow morning." She nodded, the epitome of calm, and sat down at her computer. James moved closer to observe her work, and their shoulders brushed once more. He felt his breath quicken, though he couldn't explain why. "You have an incredible way of handling complicated situations," he murmured almost unconsciously. Clara looked up, slightly surprised by this closeness and by James' unusual tone. She perceived something sincere, even vulnerable, in his voice. "Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. I'm just doing my job." The look they exchanged lasted a moment longer than necessary, and an electric tension filled the air. James felt his heart pound, unable to tear his eyes away from hers. He didn't yet know she was his contract wife, but his instinct told him that something important bound them together. Evening fell, and Clara got up to pack her things. James, for the first time, felt almost sad that she was leaving. "Clara. Could you stay a little longer tomorrow morning? There is another matter on which I would like your opinion." She gave a subtle smile, which melted James's heart from the inside out. "Of course, Mr. Whitmore. I will be there." Alone in her office, Clara took a deep breath. Every moment spent with him brought her closer to his heart, but caution was still necessary. The secret of their marriage had to remain intact until the right moment. Yet, she couldn't deny that the feelings she had for James were becoming difficult to control. That evening, James stayed late at his desk, thinking about Clara, her voice, her gaze. A persistent thought took hold of him: this woman wasn't just an employee. She was unique. And he knew, deep down, that this relationship would change his life forever. As the days passed, James Whitmore felt his fascination with Clara transforming into something deeper. He sought out more and more opportunities to talk to her, to work alongside her, and every interaction, even a professional one, made him feel vulnerable. One morning, while they were alone in the meeting room preparing an important presentation, James watched Clara arrange the documents with intense concentration. He couldn't help but compliment her. "Clara, you are impressive. Seriously, I have never seen anyone handle so many details with such precision." Clara gave a small smile, a mixture of pleasure and caution. "Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. You flatter me." Their eyes met for a moment too long, and James felt his heart clench. He wanted to move closer, to place his hand on hers, but something in his instinct held him back. Clara, for her part, felt the same tension. Every touch, every glance, was a cruel reminder of their secret bond. After the meeting, James invited him for coffee in the small office lounge, claiming he needed a break. As they sat facing each other, a pleasant silence fell. James, unable to contain his emotions, asked, "Clara, I know it's strange, but I feel attracted to you." Clara felt her heart beat faster. She had to remain professional, but her smile was filled with complicity. "Mr. Whitmore, you should be careful with your feelings." "I know, but I can't ignore them," he murmured, his voice lower, almost intimate. At that moment, Clara's phone vibrated. She glanced at it and saw a message from her mother. "Remember, your marriage is secret. Don't reveal anything." She regained her composure, masking the inner turmoil. "Excuse me, sir. I need to check something." James watched her leave, his heart aching. He still didn't know the truth. Clara wasn't just an employee. She was his contract wife, the one he had officially married to fulfill a family agreement. But fate seemed to be playing a game with them, drawing them dangerously close just as the secret threatened to shatter everything. As he closed the door behind Clara, James murmured to himself, "I need to know who she really is." And at that moment, the game of seduction, secrets and forbidden passions was only just beginning. The office was almost deserted that evening. James was working late, engrossed in his files, but his thoughts were elsewhere, entirely focused on Clara. Every smile, every word, every recent touch came back to haunt his mind. He knew he had fallen in love with her, but he still didn't know the whole truth about their legal relationship. Suddenly, Clara quietly entered his office to drop off an urgent report. Their eyes met, and time seemed to stand still. "Are you still here?" she asked, a hint of a smile on her lips. "I was supposed to finish this file, but I can't stop thinking about you," admitted James, unable to hide his feelings. Clara felt her heart racing. She knew he was sincere, but she had to remain cautious. "Mr. Whitmore, you must be aware that some things are complicated," she said softly, trying to change the subject. "Complicit in what way?" asked James, moving slightly towards her. "I want to know everything." Clara hesitated. The truth burned on the tip of her tongue. She was his contract wife, and this legal marriage already bound their destinies. But revealing this now could unsettle James, and she wanted to see his true feelings before disclosing everything. "Some things must remain a secret for now," she murmured, her gaze lowered. James took a deep breath, trying to control his emotions. He reached his hand towards hers, but Clara gently withdrew it. "Not yet, not now," she said, with a gentle but firm strength. For James, this deliberate distance was both frustrating and fascinating. Every gesture from Clara, every word, intensified his desire to uncover the truth. He didn't yet know they were already bound by marriage, but he was ready to do anything to understand this enigma before him. As she left the office, Clara cast one last look full of promise. "The time will come, Mr. Whitmore, but you will have to be patient." James remained alone, his heart pounding, realizing that this love was unlike anything he had ever known. He knew their story was only just beginning, and that the secret that bound them would soon be revealed, forever changing their lives and their destinies.